We are going live. All right, we're live. Wow, that was fast. Hi, Elaine, Marolakos, Edelson here. And we're going to be talking about a couple of things today. Since we're deep into the Venus retrograde and it's overlapping the Mercury in retrograde, we're going to do a combo thing and talk about both. So yesterday, I hear my husband call out from his office, bleepity, exclamation, bleepity. And I come running in. What happened? He said, my computer just stopped working. So he tried several times to back it up or turn it on and connecting wires and got it going again. And I said, okay, so we're in the Mercury in retrograde pre-phase. So I want everybody to know now is a good time to start backing up your computer. And that means if you have to get another hard drive, a portable hard drive you could take around with you, or even just to put things on that are important, clean up your desktop, trash out old emails, really go through as if you were cleaning out the drawers and closets in your house. Because Mercury in retrograde, Mercury represents the planet of communication. Let me show you what it looks like. That's the symbol of Mercury. And the RX stands for retrograde, or in some circles, medicine. Now, the Venus retrograde, here's a Venus retrograde. Let me bring that up to the top. There's Venus. And the Venus retrograde, what we're in now, is going to bring up a lot of feminine issues or Me Too issues or women from your past coming back. Or if it's not actual women, it can be a woman who comes into your life to help facilitate your forward motion, what you want to do next. We're going to be talking about how to let it go today. And a lot of people say, oh yeah, I let it go. And then it comes back. And then they say, oh yeah, I dealt with it and I let it go. And then it comes back. So how do you really, finally let it go? How do you let something go? It's not always easy because when we think we've let it go, whatever it is, it can be an argument you've had with someone. It's a long-standing issue in the neighborhood. I hear all kinds of things from clients. One client said that she, for whatever reason, she wasn't exactly sure, but one of her neighbors just stopped speaking to her. So she tried to talk to the wife and then communicate, and there was some kind of whatever going on. So this was about 6 months ago, and I said to her, let's wait till the next Mercury in retrograde, because then you have an easier way of several things. One, figuring out what happens to you mentally in a Mercury in retrograde, how you might get easily distracted, or your heart opens up and you have more compassion flowing through you. So sometimes it makes it easier in the retrograde cycles to understand what your judgments are, or to understand what someone else's judgments are, and then to start to slowly get on more solid ground with behavior. What's really interesting about any retrograde, but especially when Venus is retrograde, your judgments about gender come up. Like you might say to yourself, if you're a woman, you might say to yourself, it's fine. I can deal with it. I don't use that as an excuse. I don't use getting cramps as an excuse, or I don't use, that I'm a woman as an excuse. And then, pro-feminism, and then goes the opposite way and ignores a lot of feelings, or, I just don't have time for emotions right now because they're getting in the way. I got to get stuff done. I have an agenda. So if you're a woman who denies your emotions or your feelings, the Venus in retrograde is a really great time to recognize why and how you've built your life on top of these behaviors that result in and culminate in who you are today. So I still have spots open for my Venus in retrograde 30-minute session for 25% off. The blue button is on my Facebook page. If you're on a phone, you might need to scroll down, but it should be up at the top. It's a blue book now button. And we're making great headway. I just had a session with someone yesterday who, I don't know why this is so dark. It is raining outside and my office was dark, so I put all the lights on. Oh, look at that. I just raised the lights. Where's my wand? I just raised the lights by lifting my arms. I'm so magical. Light is my Patronus. It's getting back to the Venus in retrograde. I had a session with a woman yesterday who's a go-getter. And I have a lot of clients who are women who are go-getters. And what comes up for them is where they find their next stopping point. And when they get stuck, that's when they ask me, well, how come I'm stuck? And then what we usually talk about is their emotional state. Because if you don't have a flow moving through your body, it makes it harder to really, and it's subtle. It doesn't always have to be powerful, Batman, Superman, packed pow emotions. It can be just name the feeling that you have. What are you feeling right now? And if you name it, then you can acknowledge it and then you can let it go. Or you can deal with it regarding another individual if that's the case. So with the Venus in retrograde now in full force, you might have a woman who comes back into your life, or you might remember women from your past, or you might be lacking that kind of relationship in your life, and you might be looking around saying, where are my friends? I don't have any girlfriends right now. What's that about? Maybe you've been working so hard, or maybe you're so enmeshed in your family that, to exclusion of all else. So look and see what works for you regarding that. And I'm telling you, when you have a session with me, we get in. Hey, Samuel. Hey, Kitty. We get in and we go deep. And then I give you exercises to do to overcome and compensate and then reverse the pattern so you can move in the direction that you want to move in. And again, it's not just women. It deals with feminine energy as well. So, but let me just talk about the Mercury in retrograde. Again, this is what Venus looks like. And Venus is the planet that guides Libra. Hi, Karen. Libra and Taurus. And I didn't put it on this image. This is Mercury, and Mercury guides both Gemini and Virgo. So, what's happening now? Hey, Jean. Okay, so we're talking about the combination of the Venus in retrograde. That's more of the feminine energy, but it doesn't mean softer. It can mean stubborn, powerful. It can mean so dedicated that you become tunnel visioned. It can be retracing your steps throughout history to hi, Lonnie. Good morning. All the planets repeat themselves in your life. And if you're new to me, listen to what I'm going to say now. Okay. If you hear anything, hear this. The planets don't make you do anything. We live in a cooperation with our cosmos. So when the planets make a move, you feel it. When you make a move, the planets reflect that. So that's when I can look at a chart and just randomly say, oh, Saturn's on this person's ascendant. That's, they might be experiencing some authority issues or fear or dealing with their skin, their teeth, their nails, their joints, etc. So when Venus goes retrograde, it is a really wonderful time to look back at the patterns that you have had with your own feminine side, with women in your life, with allowing flow, whether you're a man or a woman, doesn't matter, or whether you're trans or bi, or it doesn't matter. Your biology, what matters is the flow of energy. Now, Mercury is considered more of like a young fellow kind of an energy. Someone who might be, I like to imagine the planets as people. So where Venus might be, on the high end, someone very glamorous and beautiful and just so eloquent, filled with compassion and like a beautiful Mother Teresa walking down the red carpet. On the low end, it's debauchery. It's, a gal smoking a cigar in a saloon right after she turns some tricks. It's like really tacky lipstick and high heels that don't go, to a parent-teacher meeting. So there's highs and lows to all the signs. But when I'm looking at the repetitive patterns and what comes back, in a couple of weeks, I'm going to be talking about the upcoming eclipses that are going to happen again in January, and how, again, you're going to see patterns repeat themselves. So this particular Venus in retrograde, if you look back just about 2 years ago, you're going to find what was going on in your life with your finances at that time. Hi, Rosemary. With women in your life, with your own feminine energy allowing and working things to happen. Now we look at Mercury in retrograde because these two planets are going to overlap in their retrogrades. And they're like brother and sister. Because on the ecliptic of how the planets revolve around the sun, Mercury and Venus are the closest to the sun, so they revolve very quickly. So they go through their cycles very quickly, which means we recognize the patterns much quicker than a longer standing planet, which is further out, which is called the outer planets. Or sometimes for me, it's the outer limits because, right? Doesn't it feel like life is sometimes just so weird? And I never use the word weird because I've seen it all. But anyway, when Mercury, the planet that represents communication, which guides the signs Gemini and Virgo, starts to enter its pre-phase of retrograde, which we're in now. As I said this morning, I heard my husband, yell expletives from his office. What? Oh, my computer won't turn on. And he finally got it to turn on. And I emphasized, back up everything you've been working on. Just back it up to an external hard drive. And then this morning, I was blow drying my hair. And then I shut my hairdryer off, and we unplug a lot of things. We don't leave things plugged into the wall because they still draw on power and it raises electrical rates and it's a waste of energy. So we actually unplug a lot of stuff. So I unplugged the hairdryer and I'm combing out my hair and I hear looking around, is there a mosquito in the room? And I'm looking at my hairdryer and I pick up my hairdryer and I'm listening and my hairdryer's motor is making a little buzzing sound. And I thought, okay, welcome the Mercury in retrograde pre-phase. So here's what I'd like you to do in a practical way. And then I want to interact a little bit more and find out what signs do we have today. Hi, Kate. Let me know what sign you are and what you have trouble with letting go of. What's the difficulty right now? Hi, Dominique. Are you having trouble letting go of? Fill in the blank. Let me know. And since we're on a 10-second time delay, I'm going to start talking again while you're in the past for 10 seconds answering my question. So when Mercury is in its pre-phase, it's a really good time to catch up on cleaning up your computer, getting your car maintenanced if you have to. This is not something you want to leave to the last minute because you could get into, a little bit of a bind if you're in a hurry. And I will be talking more about the Mercury in retrograde as time gets closer. Mercury is retrograde November. Well, we're in the pre-phase, so we're already going to start to feel it. But the technical dates are November 16th through December 6th. So write that down and then add 10 days to 15 days either side of those dates for the planet to do its thing and for us to do our thing. Because again, the planet's not doing it to you, but your perception changes. Why? It's because it's your timing. It is your timing to suddenly to go in a more brotherly fashion and say, or a sisterly fashion with Venus retrograde, and go in and just think, gosh, what these thoughts I'm thinking, do they serve me? Are they getting me anywhere? Am I enraged because of my thoughts and my judgments that go with it? What are my perceptions? These are the things you want to figure out in a retrograde, because a retrograde is a really great time to renew something, review it, renegotiate it. or release it, let it go. So we are also in a Neptune retrograde, just for a little while longer. I'll be talking about that on Monday. Next week I'll be back talking about Neptune retrograde going direct. But for now, with these retrogrades, if you're trying to get a handle on what's happening in your life, and sometimes we get so inundated with stuff that we don't stop to ponder, why am I doing this? What is the purpose of this? And then sometimes it all hits at once. It's like you're living in a house of cards and they all fall on your head and you're thinking, I don't know why I'm in this job or what I'm doing in this relationship or how I am with business. I keep busy work. It's like assembling papers on your desk and just sorting through them and alphabetizing. And then a week goes by and a month goes by and you might get to 2 things. And then your life represents a pile of papers that, what is the point to your actions? You want to be really excited about what you're doing. You want to be really excited about your contribution in this world. So Rosemary says, you're a Virgo. Hi, Virgo. Trouble letting go of career that I've been in for over 23 years. My passion is gone. Okay, well, I'm sorry to hear that, but at the same time, I'm also thinking of how I have a lot of clients in the same position. They're reaching a pinnacle. It's like, what do I do now? This isn't what I want to do anymore. So I'm actually working with 3 other women who are reframing. One owned a business for 20 years and then retired, but is so young and doesn't want to be done. It's like the old model of sitting back when you're 62, 65 and saying, okay, now I'll just watch TV all day and, bake pies. It's like, that doesn't exist anymore. We are here to make a contribution. So let's continue to do that. So if you're a Virgo or a Virgo rising and you're having trouble breaking up the pattern that keeps you holding onto something, a really great exercise to do, and this is for everyone, no matter what it is you're having trouble letting go of. We have a Cancer giving too much and a hard time saying no. Okay, that's a boundary issue. Dominica, Pisces, Capricorn rising, you're having a Saturn return. I share that, simpatico. I'm with you on that one. So another Virgo. So what we want to look at, folks, is in order to know how to develop our confidence and to, on an everyday level, but also to increase intuition, because I'm all about that. As an astro-intuitive, I don't just look at, charts and calculations and all the stuff that I do. I also close my eyes and I meditate every day. And then I open my eyes and I meditate by looking at nature outside my window. There's trees, and we don't have any trees in our backyard, although I just planted some last year. They're very small, but the surrounding neighbors, they all have trees. So I just gaze at the trees and I get calmer. I have plants, I garden. These are things that help to ground me and to help me let go of the initial energy. So when you have something you're trying to let go of, hi, Lisa, who's a Libra. With Venus in retrograde, you're really going to find the things you want to let go of. But first, get settled. And just by doing a 3-minute breathing meditation every day, inhale, exhale, with your eyes closed, and just watch how your thoughts, start zooming around from one side of your head to the other. And what you can do is just escort them to a door or to a pause, a place of pause, and say, I need to get back to you right now. I'm focused solely on the rise and fall of my chest as I breathe naturally with my eyes closed. That's it. 3 minutes. Just do that. People are, always, I need to know how and I need to know when. And it's like, well, here's how. If you want to make a change in your life, Star's here. Hi, Aries. Hi, Aries. Definitely start by breathing and getting present. This is the only way you can make a change that is thorough and how you can really let something go. And so I want you to examine not just all the stuff you want to be changing, because then we get stuck in the details. And then there's so much stuff that we get overwhelmed and we're like, we default back to the beginning. In fact, there's something called Prigogne's theory that shows us that. The graph, it's like, hey, yeah, everything's great, everything. And we get closer to making a change, and the graph gets tinier and tinier. And then suddenly we hit a brick wall and we go, no, I'm too scared, I can't. So you go back to the beginning and you default to your old patterns. So just to start simply, breathe 3 minutes, a couple times a day. Bring your focus back to the rise and fall of your chest as you breathe naturally. Because in order to make any kind of change, to let something go, to embrace something new, to set up a new strategy for business, to discover what you want to do for business, you got to get present. You have to. It's just what it is. So don't fight that. Let's not resist that. Okay? There's other things in the world that are already making us tired. So we're going to start with a 3-minute meditation. You get quiet, you bring your focus back to the rise and fall of your chest, and then what? And then you want to start naming your feelings as they arise. And it can be, oh gosh, I feel confused. All right. You're going to start from the head down, because head words are things like tired or confused. Those aren't real feelings. Your body can feel tired and exhausted, but what's the main reason behind it? Because you're overworked, or your mind won't shut off, or you won't give yourself a chance to just be still and be present and be the sparkly Mojo Mystic that you are. Okay, so let's get calm. We breathe a little bit, and Christine is here, Sag. Shannon's here, Capricorn, and Katie. What about a female Sag letting go of a male Virgo? In order to let something go, first you have to name your feelings. You get present, you name your feelings as they arise. And as they arise, and you get closer to, away from the head words, like, oh, that's interesting. No, what is it really? Well, it's pissing me off. Okay, what is it really? I'm really angry. What is it really? I'm hurt. You see, it's like there's the steps we have to take. Did I just make the light go brighter? I have power in my hands I didn't know. Watch me go. All right, I'm just gonna. There you go. You're healed. You're done. I'll see you next week. Okay, so you get quiet, you name the feelings, and then you start practicing naming the feelings throughout the day. I feel kind of confused. All right, get quiet. Why do you feel confused? Well, they said this and this, and we said sift through all the little details that distract us from the core purpose and the core transformation. And then you might say, I'm actually feeling resistant. Well, that's a surprise. Well, why are you resistant? You just have to keep asking yourself, why do you feel this way? And then the details want to come out, like someone talking about their life and complaining about their life, but never really changing their life. And those are soap operas. That's, television. That's Judge Judy. There's a volcano on the shelf behind me. Yes, there is. Isn't it beautiful? We have an Aquarius, another... Rosemary says Virgos are hard to let go of. So when you're trying to let go of something, you got to know how you feel. You got to give yourself a chance to feel the feelings. And then as you name the feelings, you can actually get a little bit more in tune with what it is you actually would like to feel instead of getting stuck. And this is what Mercury in retrograde is great at helping you do, and as well Venus in retrograde helping you to do. So remember, folks, you can go to the Book Now button. I've opened up more spaces for the Venus in retrograde 30-minute session. It's 25% off. And if it's not on your computer, the Book Now button, it's a blue button. If it's not on your computer on the top, scroll down on your device and you'll see it at the bottom. Venus is retrograde all the way through November 16th. So we're going to feel this. Now what's overlapping is the Mercury in retrograde. So Mercury is the energy that represents in all of us our communication. Not so much how we talk, but yes, there's that. But first it starts with the perceptions that you have on the inside. So what's going on the inside of your brain? Are you ready to deal with the issue at hand? Once you can meditate, name your feelings, you start to decompress a lot of the extreme stress that show up in your extremities. Oh, aches and pains, cracking knuckles and toes and stuff. But the extremes are mitigated when you become a little bit more present with what you're feeling. And then you make a choice and a decision to focus on the thing in front of you. So here's a really great tip. Once you do all these things, you can then write pages, a paragraph to start, and then a page every day for a week on one topic that you'd like to let go of. And when it's, and you just go all out, and I felt this, and he said that, and she said this, and blah, 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 and you just blah, blah, blah. And it brings up all the caca. And then you can take a deep breath, you do your 3 minutes, you get quiet, you get present, you leave the thoughts over at the door on the side of your brain, and you come back and just focus and make more space. When you create space in a meditation, you're actually creating space in your entire psyche, in your body physically, and in your consciousness. You want to become more aware, you want to become more intuitive, then make space in your body. And when you do this, then you know what's real and what's not, where you get latched onto melodrama, and melodrama is not necessary. Drama, we come here to break up our lives and our patterns through drama. So we have an action with someone, it feels a little whatever, it's not happy, it's not sad all the time. We can't stay consistent with one feeling because we're a myriad of emotions. But once you get a grip on what it is you're feeling, then you stop stockpiling, especially those Capricorn rising people. Stop your stockpiling. And then the Virgos are constantly going over the details of he said, she said, what it is, and then the defense comes up. So you want to stop all this business. This is melodrama. And so in order to let go of something or someone that you know is no longer necessary or serving health or healing in your life, then as you follow the steps that I just talked about, and you do that writing exercise, and you start to, get out all the stuff, all the initial, what do you wanted to say, what you could have said, if you had said this, there's something else that would have, blah, 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 all that crap. And then what happens is you make space. Then you come back to the 3 minutes. I'm going to make space now. And you meditate, you push the rest of the thoughts to the side and you make space. And when you do this consistently, then you can think about something in a meditation that previously was difficult to let go of. And if there's an emotional charge on it, you still haven't let it go. Then you got to ask yourself, why won't I let it go? What would happen if I did let it go? What would it feel like if I let it go? What would happen? You would give up control, the melodrama would stop, you'd move on to a healthier thing. Answer these questions for yourself. And then when you can write down the issue or the person's name, and there's no electrical charge, there's no emotional intensity, congratulations, you've let it go. What do we have for them, Jay? Well, we have... I'm going to pull a little card here. We have the reasons we attach to things in the first place because they make us feel alive, or they make us feel safe, or we think we need them, or we thought we needed it and it was great and then we don't, or that person is not healthy for us. So polarity, this is interesting. The card that I just pulled is the polarity card. And polarity deals with feminine and masculine energies working together. So Venus is the feminine energy, and Mercury is a more masculine, brotherly type energy. And when those two overlap, what it represents really is that you're ready to deal with some feelings and emotions that you've put in a box inside your body or your mind. Hi, Lisa. All this resonates. Good, Dominique. I'm glad it helps. Casey says, Gemini rising, Virgo something. Maybe moon. Yeah, that's what it is. Virgo moons have a hard time. They're very self-critical. And this Mercury in retrograde can be very freeing for Virgo moons, for Virgos in general, sun, rising, and moon, because then you stop self-judging something. It's great to have standards, but sometimes a Virgo energy will create a standard that is really hard to adhere to, or create a negative judgment and perception of, well, I can do this better. I know I can. And then you push yourself so far, or you can't get it done in the time frame that you allotted, or the opposite, where you look at someone else and you see what they have done and you say, oh, wow, that's cool. And then suddenly you feel like, I could have done that. I could have done that better. How come I'm not doing that? And so it's like the Gemini, Virgo, Mercury energy is always looking at the time frames of things. And so it doesn't matter what sign you are, when we're in a full-blown Mercury in retrograde, which is coming up November 16th through December 6th. That's the time when you start to feel like time escapes you, your perception is off, or you only want to narrow focus on one thing. And then it's like you get in there and suddenly everything else, it doesn't exist anymore. And you look up and it's 5 hours later and you thought, oh my gosh, what just happened? So you can get lost very easily in something. And if it's a productive assignment, project, you're cleaning, you're writing, you're emoting, you're whatever you're doing, you get focused on this one thing. That's a huge benefit in a Mercury in retrograde. We're going to be talking more about the do's and don'ts in Mercury in retrograde coming up in a couple of weeks when we actually get in it. But ahead of time, now's the time to book your doctor's appointment, your car maintenance, clean up your computer, upgrade your phone before the Mercury goes retrograde. And people will say, but wait, we're in a Venus retrograde. Won't that harm things? Well, not so much. Not so much the technology. Venus has more to do with the aesthetics, your body, cosmetics, feminine hormones, or women in your life and reconnecting, and the judgments or the disallowing flow. Also with your finances. So this is not the time to start an online, investment fund, especially with Mercury in retrograde coming up. But the great thing, and I mentioned this before in a previous Facebook Live, that if you know your furniture and antiques, and you know clothing, even eyewear, anything that you would buy to adorn your house or your body, jewelry or, paintings, furniture, if you really know what the value of something is, and you go to a store and you see it sitting on a shelf and it's kind of dusty and you think, oh my gosh, it's $35. This thing would cost $400 in a store. Like, what? So as long as you know what the value is of something, you can get a great deal. But Venus won't stop the technological upgrades or hinder anything in that respect, because it has it deals with a different topic. And so you can combine these topics sometimes and say, wow, I feel like I need an upgrade. And you know what's really interesting? Just before a planet goes retrograde is when people usually have an urge, and it's not, again, because the planet is doing it. It's because the people who are ready to bust a move and do something different, because they've been doing the same thing. That's why we see retrogrades happen, because people are ready to do something different. And so I will say to people, when Venus is turning retrograde in the pre-phase, you want to not cut your own hair in a Venus retrograde or dye it purple or things like that, or find a new hairdresser. But if you have a regular hairdresser you go to, just go. Things are going to be fine. But it's usually right around when the planets are turning retrograde tells me this is when a group of people on Earth are ready to do something different. And that's when they have the urge. It's like, I want to try something new. Just as Mercury is going retrograde, my husband, who has a Mercury in Gemini in his own chart, will say, hey, let's buy some new computers. I'm like, not now. Why? Why now? Don't you know me? You live with me. So, and we still do that. He'll still do that. He'll buy me a computer in a Mercury in retrograde. And then I have temper tantrums around that. And a lot of times it works fine. And then when the Mercury comes back into retrograde, it'll glitch. Or I'll have an issue with a program or an application and I'll go, drats, you didn't listen. But that's all right because it brings up my judgments and my resistance and my arguments. And it's not about being right or wrong. It's about what works for you. That is harmless. All right. If you can be 50% harmless in the world, you are ahead of it. Let's go there. Let's stay there. Let's create a place like the good place that might not be the good place for a while, but then we make it into the good place. And we make it be ours. So Mercury in retrograde coming up. Venus in retrograde currently. I was talking about polarity before with the cards. So polarity brings up when you have an extreme, when you feel something, but you don't acknowledge it and you push it down and move into your head to work it out. Or when you think something, but then it freaks you out emotionally and you can't stop emoting. Or when the polarity is you attract people into your life who, when you stub your toe, you go, ow, they don't acknowledge you. Or the opposite. You might have a friend or a relative who, is going through something and they're in pain and you can deal about 20 minutes of that and you're like, all right, aren't we done yet with your pain? Like, can we move on? And so you have to look at your extremes and when you're not able to find compassion, when you're not able to let go of your judgments about what that person ought to be doing or your own judgments about how you didn't measure up and you should work harder. And, it's always great to strive for more, but at the point of what? At the sake of what? What kind of self-pressure? I know women who push so hard, they have breast cancer. It's like super achiever. Eliza Schlesinger calls them gazelles, where they're running ahead of the pack and they're super efficient and men are totally intimidated by them. And they just, it's like, hey, I owned a house by the time I was 35, it's like, I know how to invest in stocks and bonds, and I'm only 35. So if you push way too hard, what's the polarity? If you're lazy and you're hanging out, eating chocolate, thinking, I'll work out tomorrow, there's a polarity. So, everything in your life is going to come back to your being, your perception of how it should go. So Casey writes, need to do another book, have a slipped neck disc thing. Oh, that's so painful. I'm so sorry to hear that. What's that all about? Well, it depends on where Pluto and Capricorn are in your chart. But definitely trying the several things come to mind for that. And that is the desk that can, I don't know the name of it, but my sister actually has one where it moves up and you can stand and work instead of sitting all day, because sitting all day increases your chance of having a heart attack by the time you're 50. Well, I'm 58 and I get up every 20 minutes, except when I'm on a Facebook Live or giving a reading. I get up often. So if you've got pain in your bones or in your ligaments, it's always good to examine how to keep the fluid around the ligaments, or the inflammation down, but the fluid which keeps the ligaments and your joints mobile. So, basic exercises that help you to stretch every day. The older a person gets, it's important that you realize your body's not 20 or 30. If you're 50 or 60 or 70, then your body's going to start losing things. So there's something called MSM, and that's combined with, and I use the doctor's brand. I forget what it's called. Doctor's Best, I think it's called. And it's got, it's for joint support with MSM in it, and that helps. And then I rotate exercising, and that is stretching. I do stretching now because I hear bones cracking, and my doctor said, oh, you're losing fluid in your joints. And so it's important that to replace that fluid, that you're taking whatever vitamins and minerals that you need, but also replacing what gets flushed out of your body when you sweat or when you sleep or when you work out or when there's stress or when you have an injury. I was doing yoga 4 months ago. This just simple cobra stretching. And then something happened to my shoulder and I couldn't lift my arm for a month. And I'm like, what the? Damn you, age. And so I thought, all right, I'm not going to just jump into working out, which was my way of sabotaging myself. I figured that out in the last retrograde. I figured out how to keep myself from working out by finding an excuse, by having a bodily issue, by not working out for 2 months, and then jumping into an exercise and doing size with Shanti. And then the next thing I know, ow, my hip, or ow, my shoulder. So now I rotate through whether it be easy weight training, stretching, yoga, dance, a little bit of cardio, so that I do a little bit, and then I replace with a lot of stuff. Ultima powders. I mean, I've got like a whole concoction. My husband calls me a white witch because I've got like all these pills and potions and drops and liquids, and I make sure that I'm doing it because my body's aging, and I realize I'm not getting old. My body is aging. All right, I got to do something about that. So when I look at that in a Venus retrograde, and I thought, before Venus was going retrograde, I thought, what's coming? What's coming? I'm a Taurus. Venus is my muse. What's coming my way? My rising sign is Capricorn. Saturn in Capricorn, Pluto in Capricorn, bones, teeth, skin, nails, joints. Oh man, I started working this exercise program slowly where I had a frozen shoulder. I couldn't lift my arm above this. But now I can do this because I've been working out in a way that really supports my body. And working out not for the purpose of anything other than staying healthy. That's my motivation. If I drop some pounds, great. If I get toned, great. I'm keeping all the parts of my biology in functioning mode. And if I sit too long at the computer, with my mouse, and it's like, ow, then I stop. I have to pay attention. So it's important you pay attention to your body, and you start letting go of being stubborn. It's like, I just got 6 more paragraphs to write, but my fingers are killing me. It's like, why are you being so stingy with love, with yourself? This is what Venus retrograde will show you, that anything that starts to change in your body, anything that's changing in your relationship with another person, let's add the Mercury in retrograde, your perceptions that need to change so that you have better relationships, so that you have a better way of communicating, not just with other people, but inside. What's your motivation for doing something, and why do it at the sake of yourself? This morning I said I couldn't sleep this morning. Our daughter Aaliyah wasn't feeling well in a big way, so she had gone to the doctor. Now she lives out of state. I can't be there for her. And suddenly, I'm up at 5 o'clock in the morning researching things online for her. Like what she can do and what the symptoms are, and how she can change behavior. And I thought, I just have to let that go, because I can't be there for everyone I love and people I don't know all the time, which is my natural inclination. And I've done it at the sake of myself. So there it was, plain as day, Venus retrograde, Mercury pre-phase retrograde. Wait, why? I just woke myself up to solve someone else's problem. But I need sleep. So you see, it doesn't mean I'm not caring or I don't have compassion. It just means I need to put it in perspective. And that's what these times are about. Joyce says, will things start getting better for me and less stress? Well, if you allow them to, yes, they will. They will. Things don't just happen, at random. Everything in your life is there because of you. I'm going to pull another card for everyone. And if you just joined me late, go back and listen to the replay on this so you can be apprised of the exercise, the very simple things that you can do to bring your life back into harmony. Now, Joyce is a Scorpio, and we're in a Venus retrograde in Scorpio. So right now you might feel depressed, lost, out of it, and really not, perfect card, and really not able to get ahead. Well, focus on the things that you do, everyone, not just Joyce. Focus on the things that you do that create stress in your life when you overdo things. It's just fine-tuning your behavior. I just pulled the detachment card before it was polarity. And so now we want to detach a little bit more. Detachment doesn't mean feelingless. It doesn't mean emotionless. Detachment means learning how to let go. And remember, breathe for 3 minutes. Escort the thoughts to one side or out the door in your brain, and then focus on the rise and fall of your chest as you breathe naturally. 3 minutes, several times a day. That creates space in your body and in your mind and in your spirit. And then spirit can give you information. Your intuition can increase. And then from there, you pick the one thing that you're having trouble letting go of, and you start writing about it. Write about it for 7 days. Pick one thing, not a myriad, because, it's too much, right? You're stockpiling the stuff. So one thing at a time. And as you write about it, you'll start to feel differently in your body. And not using a computer. You got to write by hand, because there's a chemical reaction that happens with the hand, pen, and paper different than the computer. So write by hand and start to let that go. And after 7 days, go back, do that 3-minute meditation that you've been doing every day, right? Right? Yes. Every day, you're going to do that meditation, and it's going to help you. And then after a week of writing, you're going to get quiet, and you're going to pick that one issue that you've been having trouble letting go of. And you're going to think about it. And if it brings an emotional charge, you haven't quite let it all go. Continue, repeat the process. And, when you've let something go, when the memory of it is like last week's lunch, if you can even remember what you had last Tuesday for lunch. Unless it was the most orgasmic meal ever, But where it's just a moment that goes by and you've let it go. If you have a conversation going on and roiling around like boiled water in your head at 11 o'clock at night about what he said, she said, they did, they didn't do, and it goes over and over, you haven't let it go. If you keep thinking about something that happened in the past and it's got you in emotional grips, you have not let it go. So that's just a telltale sign. So that's an indicator and a calibrator for you. Okay, so we're going to be back on Monday at 4, and we're going to be talking about more of the retrogrades. I'm going to bring in the Neptune in retrograde as well as it goes direct, which you can expect. Wait a minute. I had another note. Oh, yeah. So as we head into the Mercury in retrograde on November 16th, we're way ahead of it. Now's the time to get your car fixed or serviced, your computer upgraded or fixed, all your gadgets. And then you're going to upgrade your brain by meditating and breathing every day, getting in touch with how you feel. Name your feeling, one feeling at a time. I feel this. And ultimately, tired is not a feeling. It's a symptom. But you keep breaking it down. Well, why do I feel that way? And then all the details come and you blah, 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 blah. And then you break it down. Well, why do I feel that way? Now, how do I feel? Well, now I was confused. I was tired. Then I was confused. Now I feel kind of annoyed. Well, now, do the breathing exercise. Now, what do you feel? You know what? I feel really sad and I don't know why. That's okay. You don't have to have a reason for the feeling. You just need to name and acknowledge and validate your feeling. That's going to create awareness. It's going to help you let those feelings go. Because if you're holding them and you're not paying attention to them, they're in here. They're going to stockpile. And now they're all standing in line like, the bread line in the 30s. And you got, all right, sadness, step up, your turn. How old are you? How long you been there? All right, irritation, you're next. And so if you feel them while you're actually feeling them, you can decide what to do with it next. Well, I'm really angry. That person just came in and said something and it really bothered me. And why did it bother me? I don't know. Let me think about it for 10 minutes. Okay, 10 minutes is great. 15 minutes, do a little meditation, 20 minutes, write about it. A day goes by and you're like, I just figured it out. And so then you make an appointment to have a conversation with that person. But if you're stockpiling and you're holding crap from day one, long ago, I was 12 and something happened. Well, we all are like that. We all have that. And sometimes we can't force an issue to come out. But the ones that are topical, the ones that you're thinking about all the time, those are the ones that are regenerating the same neurons, the same thought process, the same patterns, and then you go back to the default system. Let's end that. Crazy pattern making. Crazy people. Let's get our mojo back. Yay. Okay. It's a beautiful rainy day, and I'm going to enjoy the rest of the day. I hope you do too. Thank you for being here. remember, look for the book now. It's the blue button on my website. Not on my website, on Facebook Live page. And if you're on another gadget, you might have to scroll down and look below. It's 25% off a 30-minute Venus in retrograde session, and it's going to be powerful and awesome, and it's recorded, and I will show you exactly what tools you need to do and what steps you need to take to reverse the negative processes and patterns in your life. I want to help you get your mojo back. You can become a Mojo Mystic. You absolutely can. And then you too could have a volcano behind you that has lemongrass and crystals and lights. And then you can know that you too are blessed, because you are, and you're powerful. And I want you to be able to experience that power and then go do something wonderful and beautiful in the world that makes you happy. All right, I'll be back next week. I'll see you on Monday. Be well. Thanks for being here. Be well, be sparkly, and I wish you peace.